What happens when a power-hungry cop accidentally crosses paths with a woman who outranks him in every way? Not on the battlefield, not in a boardroom, but on the side of a quiet road at 11 p.m. in Toledo, Ohio. It was an ordinary, silent night, until power was tested, not by weapons, but by prejudice and arrogance. Officer Daniel Mercer, used to giving orders without being questioned, suddenly spotted a black SUV cruising past his patrol checkpoint. No traffic violation, no probable cause, just a gut feeling and an unfamiliar vehicle. He flipped on his lights. The SUV pulled over, the door opened, and there she was, a black woman. No uniform, no badge, just jeans and a khaki jacket. But her eyes, the way she held herself. This was not someone easily intimidated. Her name was Selena Ward. And what Mercer didn't know was this: touch the wrong person's dignity the wrong way, and your whole career could go up in smoke. This wasn't just a traffic stop. It was the moment a woman, after decades of quiet service, calmly pulled out her phone and began to record history. Her name was Selena Ward, Lieutenant Colonel, two-time combat veteran, a woman who once coordinated logistics for an entire international relief operation. But that night, she was just a black woman driving alone on the highway, after a long day of meetings at the Pentagon. No driver, no escort, just her, a black government-issued SUV, and a few soft jazz tunes playing quietly inside the cabin. Selena wasn't in uniform, just a simple khaki jacket, a black baseball cap pulled low, and the eyes of someone who's seen far too much to feel the need to prove anything anymore. She wasn't looking for attention. She wasn't giving orders. But some people command respect by simply saying nothing at all. On the dashboard of her vehicle, a secured military device blinked steadily, connected directly to command headquarters in Washington, D.C. The encrypted call she was about to place wasn't just a duty. It was a matter of responsibility. And what set Selena apart wasn't her rank. It was how she chose the power of stillness over bravado, how she remained composed under surveillance, how she pulled over, kept both hands on the wheel, and showed not an ounce of fear, because she knew the truth. In America, a black woman, even a lieutenant colonel, can still be seen as suspicious, simply for not bowing her head. But tonight, she wasn't staying silent. On a deserted stretch of road in the outskirts of Toledo, a lone patrol car sat in wait. Behind the wheel was Sergeant Daniel Mercer, a seasoned cop who was used to going unchallenged. His shift had been uneventful. No accidents, no chases. Just a lukewarm cup of coffee and a phone scrolling through the news, until a black SUV glided past. No speeding, no swerving, but it looked off. And for Mercer, that was reason enough. He flipped on his lights. The siren wailed. Selena Ward remained calm. She signaled, pulled over, rolled down her window. By the book. The patrol car door slammed shut. Mercer approached quickly, hand resting near his holster, flashlight aimed straight at her face. "License and registration," he barked. No greeting, no explanation. Selena kept her hands on the wheel. "Officer, may I ask the reason for the stop?" "Drifting lanes. Looked like you'd been drinking," Mercer replied, eyes locked on hers. Selena frowned. "I haven't had anything to drink." "Step out of the vehicle," Mercer ordered, louder now. "I need to run a sobriety check." "On what grounds?" she asked, her voice still steady. Mercer moved in closer, eyes cold. "You resisting now?" No explanation, no visible offense, just a bored officer, a black woman, and a confrontation where power was beginning to tilt unfairly. What Mercer didn't realize was, the woman he was barking at was Lieutenant Colonel Selena Ward, and tonight she wasn't backing down. Selena showed no fear. Her voice was steady, her eyes calm, and her hands remained placed, carefully, on the steering wheel. "Officer, I am fully cooperating. I would just like to know the actual reason before exiting the vehicle." Instead, he yanked the car door open, flashlight beam now inches from her face. "Step out, now." The command wasn't a suggestion. Selena nodded slowly. One hand discreetly activated the video recording on her phone, concealed in her palm. The faint glow of the screen lit up, just enough to capture everything. "For the record," she said clearly, "this interaction is being recorded for safety purposes." Mercer paused for a moment. He caught a glimpse of the phone. A flicker of hesitation crossed his face. But the ego of a man used to dominance wouldn't let him back down. "You think filming me's gonna scare me?" Mercer growled. "Get out, now." Selena stepped out, her posture upright. No rush, no bowing her head. In her plain clothes, she looked like any ordinary civilian. But the way she moved, grounded, composed, was enough to start drawing attention from a few onlookers nearby. Mercer began his test. Walk in a straight line under the streetlight. Follow the pen with your eyes. Recite the alphabet backward. She passed them all. Perfectly. But that still wasn't enough for him. He scribbled out a citation. Erratic driving. No proof, no violation. Just an excuse to protect a bruised ego. What Mercer didn't know was, every second of that encounter had been recorded, and Selena was ready for what came next. Selena took the citation from Mercer's hand without saying a word. No raised eyebrow, no sigh, just a steady gaze, as if she was memorizing every letter printed on that little slip of paper. Mercer stepped back. Part of him hoped she'd snap, lose her temper, anything to give him a stronger excuse. But Selena didn't give him that satisfaction. She turned, walked back to her vehicle, opened the door, and slid into the seat. The door closed with a chilling softness. The SUV pulled away from the shoulder, quiet, composed, just like her arrival. Inside the car, Selena's face remained calm, but beneath that layer of serenity, a storm was silently gathering. Not because she felt insulted, but because she had seen this scene far too many times. In the headlines, on social media, in hushed conversations down the halls of military bases, black women, pulled over, suspected, humiliated, without so much as an apology. But this time, it happened to her. And Selena knew. Rage isn't the most powerful weapon. Stillness is. She didn't need to shout to prove she was right. Didn't need to defend her dignity. Because she understood one thing with perfect clarity. When the truth comes to light, those who once looked down on her would be the ones to bow their heads. And when that moment came, the world would no longer see just a black woman, but a commander who had learned to fight in silence. That night, Selena sat alone in a small office at Fort Kingsley. The clock was nearing midnight, but she hadn't left. The desk lamp cast a warm glow across her composed face. But in her eyes, a storm was brewing. On the laptop screen, the same video played, a short clip from her phone. Mercer, the flashlight, that suspicious tone, and his cold command, "Step out. Now." Selena kept the sound off. She didn't need to hear it again. She had heard it enough. Each replay sliced at her dignity, not just because she had been disrespected, but because the moment captured something millions had experienced and been forced to forget. She thought of the young soldiers of color she had trained, the ones she used to tell, "Keep your head down. Work twice as hard. One day, they'll respect you." But tonight, she asked herself, will it ever be enough? She had the rank, the medals, the spotless record, and still, to a stranger's eyes, she was nothing more than a suspicious black woman. Selena took a deep breath, and from the core of her being, The words rose, not rehearsed, not calculated, just true. I can't stay silent anymore. Silence was no longer strategy. It was complicity. And this time, she knew. She couldn't let it pass like all the others. She wouldn't scream. She would retaliate, with law, and with unshakable integrity. The next morning, Selena Ward walked into her office at Fort Kingsley with an unusual calm. No one in her unit knew what had happened the night before. But something in her eyes had changed. She wasn't angry. She didn't call the media. Instead, she went straight to the office of the Military Inspector General. 1 ring. 2. Then the voicemail picked up. Selena left a short, steady message. I need to report a serious abuse of authority. I have video evidence. This isn't just about me. Then she sent an email. Attached was the video from her personal phone, along with a scanned copy of an internal report. No dramatics, no accusations, just the truth, clear and undeniable. When her assistant asked, "Are you planning to sue for damages?" Selena simply shook her head. I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing it for principle. Silence doesn't protect you. It only protects the ones in the wrong. To her, this wasn't personal anymore. It was about everyone else. Everyone who had been pulled over, dismissed, or treated like a suspect, simply because they didn't fit the mold of traditional power. Selena had chosen the harder path, not one of vengeance, but a path that demanded truth through the very law she had sworn to uphold. 2 days after the incident, Officer Mercer strolled into the break room like any other day, coffee in hand, wearing that same smug grin. She really thought that government ID was going to scare me? Please. I've dealt with her type plenty of times. But this time, no one laughed. A younger officer, Grant, hesitated, then asked, what was her name? Selena, Ward, or something. The air shifted. The room fell quiet. Grant froze mid-sip. Wait, did you say Selena Ward? Yeah, so? You mean Lieutenant Colonel Selena Ward? Deputy Director of Tactical Security at Fort Kingsley? 2 tours in Afghanistan? Bronze Star Medal recipient. She gave the keynote at the National Security Academy last year. You don't remember that? Mercer said nothing. For the first time in his years on the force, he felt something unfamiliar. Unease. He went back to his office and pulled up the incident report. At first, he just skimmed, expecting a routine review. But then he saw it. Lieutenant Colonel Selena D. Ward, boldly printed on her federal identification. His hand froze. She wasn't some mouthy black woman in the dark, like he had told himself. She was someone far above his rank, his understanding, and his control. Just then, a folder from Internal Affairs landed on his desk. Official complaint, attached video evidence, request for deposition, federal court hearing. The arrogance shattered, and for the first time, Mercer understood. He'd messed with the wrong one. The courtroom was silent to the point of suffocation as Lieutenant Colonel Selena Ward entered. Her uniform was immaculate. Medals gleamed proudly on her left chest. No smile, no complaint, just a steady gaze, as if she were stepping into the 3rd deployment of her life. This time, the mission was justice. Across the room, Mercer sat hunched behind the defendant's table, back slightly curled, eyes avoiding contact, fingers clenched around a folder with crumpled corners. When Selena's attorney played the video, the room went still. Everything was crystal clear. Mercer's cold, dismissive voice, his hand hovering dangerously close to his gun. The baseless command, step out of the vehicle. And Selena's voice, calm, patient, not a single word out of line. The judge turned to Mercer. Do you have anything you'd like to say before the witness continues? Mercer opened his mouth, then shut it, speechless. Selena stood. No theatrics, just the truth. I wasn't asking for special treatment. I was asking to be respected as a citizen, and I recorded the interaction, not out of fear, but because I've seen far too many times how the truth gets twisted when there's no proof. The room remained silent. No one needed a closing argument, because this time, justice had been recorded from the very beginning. Judgment Day. There was no rain, but the air felt heavy as lead. Same uniform, same upright posture as the day she first walked into that courtroom. No trembling, no inflated expectations. She was simply waiting for the truth to be acknowledged by the law. Across the aisle, Mercer was a different man, his face pale, his eyes vacant. A week ago, he was sneering with arrogance. Now he was just a hollow figure shrinking beneath the weight of justice. The judge brought down the gavel. Her voice was steady, each word landing with weight. This court finds the defendant, Officer Daniel Mercer, guilty of violating the constitutional rights of citizen Selena Ward and of misusing authority beyond the bounds of professional conduct. Judgment for the plaintiff. Compensatory damages awarded, $35,000. This case will be forwarded to the Department of Justice for review of current intervention protocols and conduct standards within the local police force. No one clapped, no one shouted, but in that silence, thousands of unseen voices felt a moment of relief. Selena lowered her head slightly, a nod that spoke volumes, not a nod of victory, but a nod that, at last, truth had been given a place to stand upright. Her attorney leaned in and whispered, "You could have asked for more." Selena replied with just one line, "I didn't come here for money. I came to take my name back." And somewhere, in the hearts of those who had ever been dismissed for the color of their skin, their gender, or their rank, a small spark of hope had just been lit. There was no press conference, no cameras, no trending hashtags. Selena Ward didn't need any of that. 3 days after the verdict, she returned to Fort Braden, the training base where she had once mentored hundreds of new recruits. No one mentioned the lawsuit. They simply saw a woman in uniform, shoulders square, eyes forward, as if nothing had ever happened. That afternoon, she walked into the strategic training room. In front of her stood 22 fresh recruits. Most hadn't even earned their first stripe. They rose instinctively, but their eyes revealed something deeper. Respect. Selena didn't start with a tactical chart, no military commands. She began with a question. How many of you believe that a badge or a uniform will make people respect you? A few hesitant hands went up. She smiled. But it wasn't a cheerful smile. It was the quiet, solemn smile of someone who had tasted disrespect in the stillness of night. I get it. I used to think that too. But let me tell you something no academy will ever teach you. Power without responsibility is just fear wearing a costume. The room fell silent. Selena began pacing slowly, her gaze locking onto each young face. We don't fight to look strong. We fight to protect what must never be trampled. That wasn't a lesson. That was a life truth. Selena Ward never went on television. She didn't write a memoir. She didn't turn herself into a hero. But with every step she took, with every word she spoke, she made one thing clear. Silence was no longer an option. In a video captured by a young recruit during a training session, she's seen standing tall, a spotlight glinting off the rows of medals on her left chest. Her voice is calm, but it cuts straight to the heart of anyone who's ever been dismissed because of their skin color, their gender, or the invisible weight of bias. I've stayed silent many times in my life, out of politeness, out of fear of conflict, because I believed silence would keep me safe. But then I realized, when you see injustice and turn away, the wrongdoer thinks they're right, and the wrong gets repeated, again and again. She paused for just a moment, looking directly into the camera lens. Remember this, no matter who you are. Silence protects the wrong, but courage protects us all. The video lasted less than 30 seconds, but it spread like wildfire. Across social media, every comment, every share carried the same message. Justice doesn't arrive on its own. It needs someone brave enough to call it by name. And that day, a black lieutenant colonel called it out, not with a scream, but with the truth.